Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, Mel. How are you doing? And you can just, we'll just talk right through like we're talking to each other, like we're in the at tennis. But Mel, I have the pleasure of having Mr. Mel Simon, one of my good friends, one of my tennis buddies in Connecticut, and he's embarking on an amazing journey that he's been dreaming since he just sat on the cycle. It's a 3,800 mile journey. So what I'm going to do is like I'm going to have Mel talk a little bit about it, about his journey, and then I'll quickly get down to what inspired him to do it. And there's a lot of questions I have in my mind. Mel, introduce yourself, what you do, and then why you wanted to take on this journey to go cross country across the United States.
Thanks, Sri. Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure. I'm sitting in Crystal City, Virginia. Just met with 12 or 13 other folks who are going to be doing this ride, 3,800 miles from Washington, D.C. to the coast of Oregon. And it's going to be a 75-day trip, something I've been dreaming about literally since I first jumped on a two-wheeler when I was like 6 years old. It's a big bucket list item to check off. It's a big challenge ahead of me. I haven't finished it yet. I'm only just starting, but it's super exciting.
Yeah, so I had a few questions right off the bat. The first thing being, what inspired you to take on this significant challenge? I mean, I know you have done a lot of few things, and maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the previous rides that you have done, that you do in Israel, and a lot of the other places that you have done. I think also in the Northeast. I think you've done some from Maine and things like that. So maybe talk a little bit about that, and also what inspired you to take on this journey.
So, literally, since I first started riding a bicycle, it has been the means by which I saw the bigger world around me, including being on a tricycle and getting around the block, or on a two wheeler, as I mentioned, and riding to McDonald's for a lunch as a 10-year old. And then as a 12-year old, me and some friends started doing longer and longer rides, 30 miles, 40 miles, 50 miles. Before I even bought my first 10 speed, I was doing 50-mile rides on a Stingray, and always saw it as a way to see the world. And it's grown my whole life. I've been doing this. I've done tours, as you mentioned, around the world. Israel, 4 trips through the Negev Desert. I did a solo trip when I first started practicing law from Hartford to Montreal, where I was born, which was my dream to ride back to my place of birth. And more recently, I rode from the coast of Maine up to the White Mountains and back, northern Vermont last summer with a group of friends I had met on a previous ride. We put together our own ride, rode across the state of New York on the Erie Canal Trail. So it's just been one leading to another. And I always looked at cycling as a not only just a really fun, entertaining way to be outdoors, but as a great training device in my body. I love being on a bicycle. I always felt like I was born to be on a bicycle. So this has been my bucket list item, and this was the year I thought it was right to do it.
No, that's really amazing, and I think this must be one of your longest rides. I think, right? I think you've done a lot of longer ones, but is this the longest one you would ever undertake?
By far, yes. I mean, the most I've done 2 week rides. This is going to be 10 and a half weeks. So never anything quite like this.
Okay, and I think you kind of alluded to this, but what's the most you're looking forward to during this ride about this experience?
What I have found about cycling is the pace at which you bicycle, the fact that you're outdoors, you get exposed to nature, you get exposed to people, you stop in general stores, you meet people from the local towns. They're always interested in knowing where you're from. And when if you're in the middle of Nebraska and you say you're from New England, they go, wow, and they want to hear the story. And I love telling stories, as you know. And
Hmm.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the country and interacting with people from all different backgrounds as I go.
No, that's amazing. I think usually when you take like a car ride and when you go from one place to another, you definitely like to see what's the other place like, what are they, how are they like, and their experiences. And I think for you to share your journey, I think maybe it'll inspire other people to actually take smaller journeys. I think I've done some bicycle rides myself, but I think it's mostly like not like 100 miles or 200 miles, but I think it just makes me do more. I think just reading yours actually really inspires me, and hopefully it inspires a lot more people about this. Obviously, this is exciting. Obviously, you're just going to start the ride, 3,800 miles. Anything you're more nervous about? I mean, during this journey, of course, this is a long journey. I mean, I just wanted to see that. I mean,
Yeah, there are a lot of things to be nervous about. I'm nervous about how my body will handle the challenge. Will I make it? There's no guarantee that this is something you take on and you finish. Um, I'm safety is obviously a huge issue when you're on a bicycle. So we spent a lot of time tonight in orientation talking about safety. I'm pretty good at measuring risk on a bicycle, but that's a concern. Weather, we talked about tornadoes in Kansas, and what do you do if a tornado comes blowing down the road and you're in the middle of nowhere? So there's a lot of things to be nervous about. Gear,
yeah.
but I've done a lot of these, and while each one presents its own challenges, I feel like I'm ready and experienced enough to take on this big one.
Yeah, and I think we're all there rooting for you, the entire tennis family. I'm sure everybody back in uh, where we are from, and I think everybody, all the people that you meet. I think I've mentioned about your brothers who have been, who've been there with you. That's amazing to have like family always there with you. So that was very, very great to hear. So let's talk about like the route you guys are going to take, right? What are you planning to take? Like any specific destinations in mind as you're navigating through the cross or navigating cross country? I mean,
Yeah, so the route that we're taking is designed by this organization that's actually conducting the tour, which is called the Adventure Cycling Association, and the route that we're on is called the Trans Am Express, which basically goes from the East Coast to the West Coast. And 500 miles of our journey will be on gravel trails. So from Washington to Pittsburgh, we will be on gravel trails the whole way. First, the C&O Canal Trail, and then
mhm.
following that, the Allegheny Trail. And then we'll ride roads between Pittsburgh and the border of Missouri, and then we'll cross Missouri on a trail called the Katy Trail, which is the longest bike trail in the country. 250 miles of continuous gravel trail. It runs most of the way along the Great Missouri River, which is an amazing river. If you've ever crossed the United States, you've had a chance to cross it. Just a historic and big. It was part of Lewis and Clark's expedition. They made big journey on that. So and then we head through Colorado and ultimately into Wyoming, and we will be in the Grand Tetons, which is a place I've never been and looking so forward to being in. And then from there, we ride up into Yellowstone. So two of the iconic national parks in the United States. From there, we ride to Missoula, Missouri, Montana, which is where the Adventure Cycling Association is headquartered, and we'll spend an extra night there meeting some of the people that develop these programs. And then we'll ride across Idaho, the Sawtooth Mountains, which are supposed to be very challenging, and then across Oregon into the Willamette Valley, where Eugene is, the University of Oregon, and then another 75 miles to the Pacific coast.
Wow. And then I think I read your blog and it dipped the ceremonial dip in the Pacific Ocean. And I think that'll be incredible to see. And then, but I think we're all rooting for you. I think you've done this, but I think you can do it. I mean, I'm so excited about it. And I'm going to be looking at the blog. And what we'll also do is that as and when you feel that you're are ready to talk and even chat up like 5 minutes and say, hey, this is where I am, this is what it is, I'm more than happy to have you again too. But a couple of things I wanted to, you kind of talked about the path. What kind of bike and gear are you guys using and for this ride, such something like this, something of grueling nature?
Yeah, so it's interesting of the riders that gathered today. A lot of different kinds of bikes. I'll be riding a carbon frame road bike with disc brakes and electric derailleurs, which I bought last fall for this ride, with gravel tires on it, at least for the first half until we complete the trip through Missouri. I did bring extra road tires. Switch over to road tires. It's a Trek Damani. I've had Trek Damanis before, so I'm very familiar with the geometry and how the bike operates. But I've never had electric. I actually have electric derailleurs that are Bluetooth. So I when I touch my a little nod on the brake lever, it actually changes my gears by Bluetooth, which is amazing, and it's very functional and they happen very quickly, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that operates over the course of the 75 days.
Awesome. So I think for someone like who's a lay person, talking about these are something that I've heard, the carbon frame. It's something from a lot of my friends who are big time cyclists. So something like that. I think this is something that one of those bikes that you probably needed for a very long distance, not your typical road bikes or anything like that. This is something that can withstand the gruel nature of the trip and the gruel nature of the different trails that you guys are taking. So that's good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The tires are real important because that's the part
Okay. Yep.
that it hits the road, and and I'll change those as I mentioned as I go, depending on the conditions that we're riding on.
Cool. The other thing I know we talked about your experience. We talked about the your because I had a list of questions for myself, and I think how are you planning to handle like food and water and accommodation along the way?
So we're going to be camping most of the way.
Okay.
Um, we have a van that is supporting us that pulls a trailer. It's a 15-person van. It can actually handle all 15 bikes if we had to. Um, and it has a trailer, and that trailer will carry our gear. And
Hmm.
back end of the trailer is actually like a portable kitchen that we pull out every night. We'll have
Hmm.
three burner stove, and we have tables, and we will be every night. Two of the 12 riders, or two guides and 12 riders, two of the 12 riders will be assigned cook crew. You have to meet up with the van early in the afternoon, go to the supermarket, buy the food for the evening and the breakfast the next morning and the lunch, and then you're responsible for making dinner that evening, setting up breakfast in the morning and lunch, and then you're done for 6 more days. You don't have to do it again.
No, but that shows you the amount of logistics and planning that's needed for a trip of this size. I think you said 12 riders, right, in
Correct.
total?
What? Yeah.
12 riders. So all these things, that is pretty good. Obviously, one big thing is that, you talked about the safety thing. You talked about the support system that you have with the van. Um, but one thing would be is like, as we're going through each and every journey, it'll be great for people to kind of hear how you're doing. And I think we'll talk about interesting people that you meet. How are you going to be challenging yourself both physically and mentally as you go through this grueling exercise? I think it'll be great for people to hear it. Um, but um, but I'm actually like you know amazed at this, and we're rooting for you like all the way from Connecticut and different parts of the world. So um, the other thing is that so today you guys had the orientation. So this is where you're told about pretty much everything, what to expect, what not to expect. It's something like you said, the tornado and things like that. So that is good to know. But like you said, it's it's like you have the knowns and it's the unknowns. But I think you know what I think with your experience and everything, I think you guys are going to do it. 75 days. I think you said July 2nd, right? Is when you would complete. That's your targeted date. Okay. And and when do you guys start the ride?
So tomorrow we're doing what's called a shakedown ride, so that everybody can get a sense of who rides it, how they ride, equipment, make sure everybody's equipment is working well. and we'll ride out to Mount Vernon, George Washington's home on the Potomac River. Then we're going to come back to the hotel, debrief a little bit, and then the following day on Tuesday, we will head out on the C&O Trail for our first day toward the west.
Okay. No, no, that's good too. So I think that's when it starts, right? That's when the clock starts
Yep,
for you.
they will be
Okay.
back
Cool.
start.
Cool. So I think this was great, Mel. I mean, I think I really enjoyed, like, coming up with these questions because these were all in my mind, and I was like, well, I could ask Mel these questions, or I might just get him on like a quick podcast. And usually when we finish it, I wrap it up and I will send you the link. It'll be available on pretty much every channel, both Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, everything. It'll be all over the place within like 15 minutes after we finish, I think. And then I'll send all the links for you to share. And then what we could do here is that um, you can text me, and then I'll make time for you. And then as you're going through, different states, we can talk about and say, hey, and it could be during this time of the day, and even if it's a 5-10 minute thing, I think it'll be great for people to hear. And I'll be happy to follow you through your journey all the way to the West Coast. Um,
That would be really fun.
yeah,
Enjoy that.
cool. So this is good. Thank you again, Mel, for your time. And I know you're busy. I know you guys have your orientation and you have a lot of things planned for tomorrow and the rest of the trip. And I'm looking forward to it. I think we're all excited. Like I said, I was telling Dan Kessler about it, and he said, well, this is great because you always do sports, something about sports, but this is something. I said, you know what? I've never done a cycling podcast. Maybe this is my first foray into cycling podcast. There you go.
One.
So again, thanks again for your time, Mel. And what I'll do is I'll stop the record button, and that's when the recording will stop. And have a good night.
Thank you, Shri.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.